Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Former diplomat Earl Huntley weighs in on the election of Boris Johnson and what it would mean for the Caribbean region if he pushes forward with a hard Brexit.
Brexit is back in the air with the voting in of Boris Johnson as the new Prime Minister of the UK. Boris Johnson played a decisive role in the 26th referendum, and with the Brexit deadline looming ever closer, many countries, including St. Lucia, are concerned about the implications for countries within the region. Earl Huntley, former ambassador to the United Nations and former permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of St. Lucia, believes that should Brexit become a reality, St. Lucia and the Caribbean would lose a powerful lobbying ally in the UK when negotiating with Europe.
The way it affects us is that when the British were there, while the British were there, we have a voice, we have a stronger voice for us in St. Lucia and the rest of the Caribbean in terms of our negotiations with Europe. And that was very clear in the days of the negotiations for bananas, to trying to keep access, duty-free access for our bananas in Europe. And while we lost out in the end at the WTO, but the British presence in the EU helped keep it going. What happens now with Britain leaving, it means we now have to look at our relationship with Britain by itself. But of course, the situation is very uncertain. The new Prime Minister, Mr. Johnson, Boris Johnson, has said that he's leaving on the 31st, October 31st, whether or not he gets a deal. So the situation is still very uncertain.
But what about trade relations between the Caribbean and the EU? Does Britain bowing out of the EU impact those trade agreements? Mr. Huntley thinks not.
It will not be a problem because our trade relationship with the EU is governed by an agreement with the EU, which the presence or lack of presence of Britain doesn't affect. The agreement is there.
One thing is for certain, with the new UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson at the helm, the eyes of the St. Lucian government, and indeed the eyes of the rest of the world, will be focused on the UK and bracing for the fallout of the possible implications of Brexit. I am Novita Emmanuel Green reporting for the Hot 7 News.
The standard book list will tally into the hundreds. Add that to the cost of uniforms, registration, facility fees, and transportation, and summer seems a lot less fun for parents. In an economy where unemployment remains high and the cost of living continues to increase, many parents say it is getting increasingly difficult to meet the cost of sending children to school, in particular, the cost of books. They spoke to our cameras.
Thoughts on this? It's very, 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 very terrible. When you look at it from, let's put it at the time of the past, when we used to go to school, all right? If you look at it, we used to pass on the books for our brothers or sisters or neighbor next door. We couldn't afford to go and buy new books all the time that school closed and opened. We used to actually pass the books for each other. And what the other side doesn't have, we give. We didn't used to sell anything like giving our neighbors. It's one love that used to be. But look at it now. We are facing a real tremendous trouble with education. All right? Why is so much right now to get one book sometimes costs about $200 or $300 for one book just to learn one single paragraph or for your education? Look at it well. The books are too expensive after all. I don't know who making the money on those things and how it requires, but the average person who working for $800 a fortnight or month cannot afford a loan to buy not even two of those books. What are they going to eat later? We have to understand that. How they're going to contribute to the children buying all those kind of things to put in the lunch kits. After all, if that person haven't got somebody to help them out, or they have to go and do other things to meet up with that situation, what kind of thing is that? Every term you go to buy school clothes and you go to buy books, the prices of the books always raise, always increase. Why? The question is why? And people cannot afford to buy those books to give their children an education. All right, and look at it in this. Look at the time that we live. It's getting worse and worse every day. All right, apart from what the government is giving, the little 2 pence the government is giving to help the situation of the parents, the average person, which is we call the poor person, cannot afford to buy those books.
The school books is a bit too expensive for the school children because there are parents that cannot afford the school books. I find They should have, like, the children have more experience in the computer, in the little laptops. So put away the books and give them the laptops because they can learn more in that than the books.
The teachers don't use all the books. Some books, they're coming back, when you check for the next year, some books the children had to buy, it's empty, it's not written on, it's not used. They don't use all the books after the books so expensive. So yes, I really think that it's too expensive.
My thoughts on the LGBT institution and the proposed match of LGBT. I have two sons and they're quite young and they themselves were appalled that they be absolutely having a match for the LGBT. Now I have to educate them. And first of all, I have to make it unequivocally clear that I do not hate or despise homosexuals or lesbians. I do not support their lifestyle, but I do not hate them personally. I have a love for them in my heart. But I'm saying they may have feelings for the same sex, an attraction, yes. I have feelings which are wrong too. I may have a feeling to lie, feeling to steal. But should we let our feelings control us? Follow me. When we have feelings that are not according to God's word, we have to admit it, yes, they're honest, they come out, they're gay, they bold, they're gay. We have to bring before the God to get help, to put our bad feelings aside, to do what is good. What if the rapists want to say the other day, or people who have feelings to have sex with animals? Where do we stop? You follow me? So feelings can come. I can understand that they have attraction to the same sex, but then we have a power available in both sides to help us control our feelings and to give us make our wrong feelings right. I'm with them. I'm going to meet with the president of the Gay Association that we can be civil. Let's talk. We exchange. I share my view. He shares his view, and let us join hands. But we have to seek to do what is right. I don't believe that the gay and the homosexuality is the way to go.
Trinidad and Tobago will play host to CariFesta 14, the Caribbean Festival of Arts, which offers a splendid display of diversity and Caribbean unity. The theme for this year's showing is the tangible and intangible and focuses on aspects of cultural heritage and development. More in this report.
The auditorium at the Cultural Center was abuzz with cultural innovators and key players in the arts community of St. Lucia. On the agenda was CariFesta 14. Deputy Executive Director CDF Celeste Burton says preparations began in earnest to ensure the best representation of St. Lucia is observed.
The Cultural Development Foundation has taken this preparation and our representation indeed quite seriously, and we have started the planning for this event from very early. And so this morning's exercise is for the purpose of ensuring that the whole of St. Lucia is aware of what the representation for St. Lucia is for CariFesta this year, that all our practitioners, all our cultural activists and persons who are involved in the arts have an opportunity to engage with us and give us some idea of what they think of our representation, and of course to inform you of who is going and what the intentions are for the festival.
The event, slated to run from the 17th to the 23rd of August, will include elements of visual arts, music, song, and theatrical productions. Artistic Director CariFesta St. Lucia, Drenia Frederick, says the island's decorated past of creating world-class creatives will set it apart at this year's CariFesta showing.
That's for another discussion. However, the development of arts and culture is presently now at a crossroads where technology and tradition are interfacing, giving rise to a hybrid of artistic expression. There is a nouveau cultural revolution led by innovation. She adds that St. Lucia's showing will merge experience with new age for an intriguing experience. Invariably, this year's CariFesta's presentation is a reflection of the new wave of artistic expression. Our approach this year for CariFesta is to merge various genres of the performing arts, craft culture, foster synergies amongst the more experienced artists and the younger ones, showcase the contribution of St. Lucia's next generation of performance. and the areas of participation in Trinidad: theatre, music, literary arts, performance poetry, traditional performances of St. Lucia's cultural forms, La Wall. Well, some of you may say we're not doing La Margaret, but you see, it's a La Wall, please remember that. And the Jab Ritual Masquerade.
The festival has evolved and transformed over its 40-year history, and it is expected that CARIFESTA 14 will generate greater value for key stakeholders like participating artists, cultural entrepreneurs, host and sending governments. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Marlon Clovis.
The Soufrière Fosséjacques Constituency Council has announced that the commissioning of the Old Trafford Complex Phase 1 will take place on Monday, 29th July 2019. This commissioning entails the relocation of the Provision Farmers Market, which had an inconsistent location between the cemetery or the pavements on King and Bridge Streets. The new location will eliminate the complications of congestion and generally alleviate the problems associated with vending on the sidewalks. The Old Trafford Complex will also be the home of a terminal for minibus operators plying the 3 routes, namely Soufrière Castries route, Soufrière Vieux-Fort route, and the Soufrière Fosséjacques route. At what will be the highest traffic setting in the town, there are 3 food courts, and the facility is designed for multiple use and will be a location to host mass crowd events. The second phase, when it commences, will include a craft market, additional concessions booth, duty-free shopping, and restaurant. This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. Stay with us. We will be right back.